Welcome to Bosie Plays Star Citizen. In this episode we are going to look at the HUD and different methods of controlling our ship. I've just launched from the station, I've retracted my gear and I'm just now floating in space. Now when we take a look at the HUD, if we look at what the numbers mean starting on the bottom left, this F with this percentage figure here is how much hydrogen fuel your ship has. That's used for your thrusters. Now all ships at the moment will gently refuel themselves either when in space or in the atmosphere of a planet. You can switch off their engines and drift through space and it will slowly refuel. The next symbol we've got is your current countermeasure, which is infrared selected, and how many units of that countermeasure we have on board. We can change this countermeasure by pressing H for hotel. I'll switch between the two types we have.
Flare ready.
As I'm in an armistice zone, denoted by the bullet in the circle with a line through it on the top right of my screen, I can't actually deploy chaff or flare. The next we have how many G's we're currently putting through the ship. This is showing you when it gets too high in positives or gets too low in the negatives. Your character will start either blacking out or redding out and you lose vision, which is not good. And here we have that we are in the unlocked mode, which means that if I apply any thrust, the ship will keep moving until I apply opposite thrust to that. We switched this with the V for Victor key. Now that symbol is gone, when I apply thrust the ship will move in that direction, and when I stop applying thrust the ship will automatically bring itself back to a stop. On the right here, this is how much power we want to go to our thrusters. At the moment, whenever I press a key on the keyboard, the ship will put 100% power into that engine to make the ship move. Now I can control this with right alt and the mouse wheel. So if I bring this right down, and we'll bring it down, and now I apply forward thrust, we gently accelerate. And as we are in the locked mode, when I take my finger off the button, the ship will slowly come back to a stop. I can speed this up by pressing X for X-ray, which is your space brake. Now, using the right alt and the mouse wheel, I'll put that back to 100%. Now when I hold W, it accelerates quicker and it decelerates quicker. Now I hit X, then it'll stop much quicker. Now onto the left hand side of the HUD. This is our current speed. This white line is our current limiter. To control the limiter, you scroll the mouse wheel and this will tell the ship how fast it's allowed to go. So if I bring it down, I'm going to hold in W. That's as fast as it goes. If I raise the limiter, it will again accelerate to the limiter. If I drop the limiter, I'm still holding W to tell it to go forward, but the ship will slow itself down. And now of course when I release the W key, the ship stops. But we do have a cruise control, which is C for Charlie, and when I press this, you'll see a little arrow will appear next to this white line. Now the ship will fly at that speed. No matter where I set it, the ship will set itself to that speed. And I press C for Charlie to switch that off. Again, we'll bring the ship to a virtual stop because I want to show you this symbol now on the HUD. This is our current direction of travel. It's a rounded off square with a chevron pointing up. That is the direction my ship is travelling. If I turn the ship through 180 degrees, we also have one on the rear. However, on this one, the chevron is pointing down, that's my retro motion. So if you ever want to perform a quick stop, you can spin the ship, point at this symbol and hit the afterburner, and you're now using your main engines to slow the ship down rather than the retro thrusters on the front of the ship. And we'll have a quick look at the thrusters. So now I'm going to accelerate, get the sun out of the way, and we'll accelerate, and you can see the engines at the back are firing, and then when I release the throttle, the retro thrusters at the front are firing. Now I'm not pressing any buttons at the moment, the ship is just doing this because I've put it in the locked mode. Now I'm going to unlock it, I'm going to accelerate up, we'll turn the ship through 180, and then I will put the ship back into the locked mode when we're in the external view. And this time you will see when I press the button, the main engines will fire. And now it uses the main engines and the ship stops so much quicker on its main engines. Another mode that we have for controlling with the mouse is where this circle points is the direction the ship wants to point its nose. And the further from this cross, which is the nose of the ship, the faster it goes. So here it's only moving slightly to the left, here it's moving faster, and I am not touching the mouse at this point. So if we are in a external view and I want to turn the ship, I can touch the mouse, now the ship is turning, and if I want to stop, I've got to try and get that circle back onto the X without seeing what I'm doing, or as close to it. There is another flight mode in your options which is not bound by default. So if we go to our keybinds, advanced, and we go to flight movement, we have cycle mouse mode. You need to bind this yourself. I've bound it to the forward button on my mouse, so that's key bindings, advanced, flight movement, cycle mouse. Now when I press this button, the circle snaps to the cross and will not move from the cross. Now I will move the mouse. It's very jittery, but as soon as I stop moving the mouse, the ship stops moving, which means in external mode I've got a lot more control using the mouse on the position of my ship. And again, press the button to toggle the mouse mode, and now that I've got smooth control, however I don't have that precise control, especially in the external view. One last control I'd like to show is the speed limiter. Now again, we're in the coupled mode where the ship will stop itself, and whenever I hold W it'll go forward, let go W, it'll stop. If I press C, I'll put the cruise control on. Now we have a speed limit toggle which I've bound to the period key, and when I press this it turns off the limiter and ignores it. Now when I scroll the mouse wheel I can still adjust where the limiter is, however the ship will ignore that limiter. This is useful for in combat, so I can set the limiter to my manoeuvrable zone, which is the blue area, have fast speed when I want to move about, and then if I want to slow the ship down I can hit the limiter and it'll reapply that speed limit to my ship. So rather than, if I want to take off and fly somewhere, scrolling all the way up and then scrolling all the way back down when I want a bit more control, I can use the limiter toggle to disable it. Also useful if you want to land in coupled mode, because you can set the limiter very low so you don't crash into the landing pad really fast. Disable the limiter when you want to fly normally, and then when you're coming into land, enable the limiter, and even pressing W as I am now, the ship will not go past that limited speed while the limiter's on. Then I need to move fast, disable the limiter, and I don't need to move this bar. Thank you for watching, and if you'd like to support what I do on this channel, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. I also have a referral code in the description below. If you are new to Star Citizen, you can get 5,000 space bucks if you use that code when signing up. Thank you.